Let's go.
Thank you everyone for joining us today for the first Dexory webinar in a series that is called Leveraging AI and Real-Time Data to Improve Warehouse Operations. It is my pleasure to have here today Rory Fidler, VP of Technology at Menzies Aviation. Together we will share an overview of how Menzies is using real-time data to drive efficiency across their air cargo facilities. Especially how they use, obviously, the Dexory solution to address day-to-day challenges of their stock and the visibility inside the Heathrow warehouse. Menzies has been one of the very early adopters of our technology, and we are very proud to say that last week we actually won an award for our collaboration at the Supply Chain Excellence Awards here in the UK. We won the Warehouse Initiative prize. So very thrilled now to tell you a little bit more about obviously what led to that big win and everything we've been doing together for almost 12 months now. Before we jump in, just a quick overview around obviously who we have here today. I'm pretty sure you've heard about Menzies Aviation. They're obviously a global cargo provider, air cargo provider with locations across the globe. And us at Dexory, we are a robotics and AI company based in the UK who uses autonomous technology to capture inventory inside warehouses and data and information about that inventory in real time, and then digitize that into a digital twin project. So the two companies have come together, like I said, almost 12 months ago. We kicked off a project in Heathrow and looking to grow that now outside of it with some really, really great results. So for today, we've got a high-level agenda. We'll do obviously with a little bit of introduction on the two companies, talk about the challenges that Menzies have had and why they've looked at this type of technology, and then explore a little bit in more detail our solution and how it's operating in Heathrow, looking at the implementation, at the results, and also very importantly at the impact that it's had on the team at Menzies, as well as some future collaboration and innovation that's coming at Menzies Aviation. I think without further ado, it would be great to start talking a little bit about obviously Menzies and some of the challenges that they're dealing with day to day, especially when it comes to keeping an eye on the stock inside the warehouse, and a very kind of laborious product and project of every day that is called bond checking. And I'm pretty sure Rory is going to explain a little bit more what bond checking is and why it's obviously a key part of the operations in a cargo facility. So Rory, do you want to tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges when it comes to keeping an eye on stock and why that's important?
Yeah. So first of all, manners maketh the man. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the kind invite to come on the podcast. I think to position our relationship and where we came from, it was great to be a winner last week at the National Awards. But the whole journey started just over 12 months ago, where we invited 14 different technology companies to come and pitch to us to build an innovation capability. And predominantly it was a lion's den. And it started at 8 o'clock in the morning and finished at about 7 o'clock at night. And I think the 4 board members from Menzies that were there was the original death by PowerPoint. And we came across Dexory, who were named slightly differently way back then. And the start of a great partnership was born. So out of that competitive environment, we put together a proof of concept, and the concept was to address the challenges that we find. Our warehouses empty and fill again, probably every 36 to 48 hours. And we have a responsibility both from a security and a revenue perspective to know exactly what our inventory is. And we have to declare that legally once a week, minimum. To do that, we had to physically bring in a scissor lift. We had to have 2 specific people who could basically turn their minds off from a tedium job that lasted 12 to 14 hours, where they would physically go through the racks, handwrite. I think we moved to a ThinkPad, but pretty much handwrite the stock, and then compare it to the cargo management system. highly time consuming, and the tediousness of it had to be seen to be believed, which meant that the accuracy wasn't great. We were only just managing it to do it once a week, and legally we probably needed to be at 2 or 3 times. And in that 12-hour period, the accuracy became problematic because maybe 30% of the warehouse had changed. And it's not a great job. So we weren't turning away applicants of people who wanted to come and do the inventory role in a 30,000 square meter warehouse. So we were looking for someone where we could change manual processes, save time and costs. We needed greater visibility, not necessarily of the cargo. We knew precisely what was in all of the cargo, but where it was. There's certain cargo that needs to be in certain places. And the real thing that presented was not just the robotics, but the end-to-end solution. So we were really interested in the digital twin, and we spent a huge amount of time working on that to get that developed and implemented. So we after probably a very short time of maybe 2 or 3 months, we arrived with a mobile robot who arrived in full Menzies uniform, Mimi. She was introduced to the warehouse. And I think she's been running for something like 450 days now, and she's had 1 day off when somebody ran a forklift into her without very much chivalry at all. And just, the improvements and the changes are fairly mind-blowing. We now do a stock check every single night, both imports and exports. And it takes, instead of 12.5 to 14 hours, we think we've got a record that we've got just under 15 minutes one particular night. And our accuracy is probably running at somewhere in the region of 92 to 98%. And the utopia really is, it's not the relationship. We've also developed some artificial intelligence with Dexory. The utopia is finding cargo that's about to be lost, unable to locate UTL, before it's actually lost. So if a piece of cargo is supposed to be in rack number A1 and it's airway bill number 11, the robot will keep searching, and it might find that airway bill number 11 in rack AA3. It will actually pull it out on the report and the digital twin to say this is physically in the wrong place. So big deal, I hear you say, but what it means is that instead of physically having to go and find that cargo and move it, which is what we've done for 20 years in the industry, we can just walk back to the laptop or to the cargo management system, and we can just type in the fact that it's now in A3. So time saving, accuracy, and finding things before they're lost. We were sold, hook, line, and sinker.
Thank you so much, Rory. And I think probably with that, I should also kind of mention I had the privilege of shadowing some of the stock kind of process happening in Menzies at Heathrow. So our team was there with the people doing the bond check every single day to understand how that works. And I completely understand, especially from the laboriousness of the process and the utilizing of the machinery, having to always kind of stop, get out of the way of obviously kind of other colleagues trying to pick cargo. It was a very kind of interesting experience. So very happy that we could help there. And maybe this is a good opportunity for us to kind of very briefly explain obviously how Dexory works, because obviously you alluded to it quite a lot, but just so that our kind of listeners understand it, we use an autonomous robot that expands up to about 12 meters in the air, and it scans racks in warehouses from one side to another in literally just a couple of minutes, capturing up to about 15,000 pallet locations an hour. So just like Rory mentioned earlier, of course, that kind of gives us the capability of capturing the entire stock at Heathrow in about 15-20 minutes, versus a process that manually would take days sometimes, and will be also very, very kind of slow and with less accuracy. The data that we capture with the robot is then being pushed directly into our digital twin platform, where the teams at Menzies can, like Rory explained, look for cargo, try to understand where pieces are, where they've moved, why they've moved. And actually, more importantly, if they are not there on the racking, then obviously do a proper investigation and understand if something has left the site when it shouldn't have left the site, or maybe hasn't even arrived there. Kind of moving into how the technology actually operates in Heathrow. On the left-hand side on the slides, you have the robot Mimi that is operating on site, like Rory was saying, every single night. It does have a buzzer alarm and a light. So every time it's moving around, obviously colleagues know exactly where it is, so that it operates among the very, very busy operations. We should have probably mentioned, Rory, that you have a 24/7 operation where it's absolutely chaos nonstop because planes are coming and trucks are going almost on an ongoing basis. From our perspective, it was very important to be able to really integrate very well with the day-to-day operation. So not to interfere with obviously what the teams are doing, and especially allow the cargo to flow, because at the end of the day, that's the key part of Menzies business. Maybe one kind of question for you, Rory. I know you talked a little bit about the Dragon's Den process, but when it comes to kind of selecting Dexory as a solution, what would you say were maybe the one or two things that really kind of stood out to you from our technology, or maybe our team or company, that maybe you can relate?
I think there were three different levels. You brought to us a technology which was, all a little bit Star Wars, and doesn't everybody love that? I think it's a year on, it's an awful position, but it was like, let's have a look at this, because I just don't think they're going to do it. We have a warehouse that this isn't Amazon land. This isn't somebody polishing it every 3 hours. It's not even flat. We have, in Heathrow, probably 3 18-ton forklifts. And an 18-ton forklift doesn't sound very exciting until you stood next to it and you feel the power of it. And the perception from that cab is not great. So the chances of, which is basically a multi-100,000-pound set of cameras moving around the place under its own steam, without not being completely crushed, are very high. And then the third thing, I said three things, but there's probably four. The third thing was that it had a capability which we could see immediately within getting it set up and starting the POC, but it was the openness of Dexory to say, what does the roadmap look like? And just to give you an example, we have some very specific dangerous goods that we handle, and they're not allowed to be in what we call sort of freestanding. They have to be in a specific area within the warehouse, because they tend to set themselves alight, or they could explode, or various things could do. So if there's ever an incident, the fire people need to know precisely where this is. So we loaded that into the robot and said, if you find this out in the wild, then add it to your report. And incredibly, we planted some in some further rather unimaginable places, and it was picking them up. So we had a roadmap. We still have a roadmap of things we'd like to develop. We're talking about electronic signals coming from lithium batteries, which is scaring Dexory, but we're working on it. And then the fourth thing is, what's in this slide here, the analytics that we have. So we can take a photo of everything that we have. If we have some damage that we come off the trucks, we can take a photo as we unload it, and it's tagged within the analytics within the digital twin. Something that's this twin and this representation of data is the cleanest application I've seen in my career of what you want at that. But it's the snapshot in time. It can tell me what my warehouse looked like 85 days ago at midnight. And the reason that that's important is I can get trends from it to say, actually, if I had moved this space according to the digital twin on a Wednesday, I could have a freighter in and I'd only need 4 racks. And our customers have got used to saying we need 12 racks 24/7, and they're very precious. They don't want another airline on there, or they don't want another trucking company using their space. But we used it, there was a commercial conversation with one of them to say, actually, you only use 61%. And the maximum that the lowest is 52, and in this example it goes to 61. I recognize some of this data. Can we have 3 or 4 of the racks back? And we thought they'd say, yeah, no problem, because then they're not paying for the space. And they said, no, we want to bring another freighter in here. So we reversed that whole commercial conversation. We never had the scientific data behind it. And now we make a huge number of decisions based on this within, there's an operational department within the warehouse about, where is their space? There's, empty pallets sound really, really unexciting. But if you've got 12 stacks of 50 or 60 pallets in each rack, they weigh, half a metric ton. And you need to know where to store them and where to put them. So it wasn't just about the technology, which is world-class. It was about the company and the engagement, and then the end-to-end information. As much as we love Mimi, and she's, got institutionalized within our facility, it's the data that she generates and is then manipulated, which attracted us.
Thank you so much, Rory. I was going to say that if anyone has any questions, we do have our host kind of in the background. So either kind of drop them in the chat or just send us an email on letstalk@dexory.com afterwards. I can also then hunt Rory down and kind of get answers from his side as well. So please reach out if you do have any questions at all. And just to kind of pick up from that point, I think, Rory, because you've already alluded to a lot of these kind of benefits, but maybe just to kind of explain in kind of more hardcore terms, like what some of these are from Menzies' perspective. So obviously you've touched on the space side of thing, because obviously it does kind of support a lot being able to understand how much you have and where, and kind of aim for that proper utilization of all the racking. You've touched a little bit on productivity to kind of be able to find things very quickly and get them out the door when they should be out the door, on the plane when they should be on the plane. And obviously the power of that digital twin as well, then being able to track back through time. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot on sharing too much, but I think we've had a few instances where obviously because it's such a highly regulated space, you guys were asked about freight that was there a month before, and we were able to very quickly locate it, and you kind of had that information. I don't know how much you want to share about that, but
No, it's fine. Hopefully there's some people in the industry. We all have the same problems. Everyone can read the slide. It's just trying to give you a little bit of color behind it. One of the things that scares everybody at my level, because it's all about the budget. And you wake up one morning and think, I'd like to put robotics in the house. Something that isn't on here, and I'll speak to you. We'll change the slide, but the time to market and generating value is incredibly quick. So if you had everything lined up and said go, and they'd never seen your warehouse, you would be live within the week. And that's the RFP and all of the diligence stuff. But just said, how are we going to do this? To do what it does every single day, and as I say, it's over 400 days, and she's had one day off, is a mapping, an electronic mapping, and then there's some test runs just to do the timing and get the cameras all in sync. And then, the infrastructure literally is one power plug and a quiet space, so that she's not knocked over. But we do get all of these things. We recover dollars, optimize our space, we check our productivity, keep looking for the differentials. Our reputation. So our reputation was we tended to lose quite a lot of cargo in Heathrow because it's a huge shed. The racking is of a certain age, and it's difficult when it's had 58 labels on it before to make it clear what the label still is. But our UTLs have gone down to single digits. And we haven't had an instance of finding something around a corner rack that's actually, I think, our worst case scenario. And you found something that was 3 years and 2 months old. It was not a very big piece of cargo, and it was like, I don't know, nobody wants to ever touch it. It'd become part of the furniture, and the robot kept it. Was always the worst performing one, and somebody took it down, and I don't think we'd had that airline as a customer for at least 2 years. So anyway, we returned it with some humility and managed to laugh it off and get rid of it. But it does all of these things. These aren't a sales pitch. We managed to be very precise with the proof of concept before we moved into the commercials, and everything that we built for that was delivered.
Thank you so much, Rory. And I think, yeah, that's a very kind of interesting point you made there around also being able to flag how long something has been there for. And as you said at the beginning, normally in a air cargo shed, things move out and in very quickly. So if you do have something that's been there over 72 hours already, yeah, it's a bit of a question mark. Wait a second, was it meant to be already halfway around the world? So I think, yeah, to kind of summarize a little bit on those, I think that kind of additional benefits you don't even probably think about at the beginning, and help you can identify things like that is a very kind of interesting point from our perspective. And I think in probably kind of just the one point we haven't touched too much on is, how do you feel that it has changed the way that the team operates on a daily basis? And can you give us a little bit of an insight into that?
So as well as having a robot, what we do have now in the shed is a policewoman. So we all have standard operating procedures. Safety is everything, but it's also driving better behaviour. So because naturally you don't want to spend time with your boss being told that you're not doing a very good job. Part of the accuracy is driven by better practices, and the forklift guy, shifting at 14 tons of cargo for 7 hours at 4 o'clock in the morning when it's minus something outside is not a lot of fun. But the mindset and the change within the whole workforce is supremely positive after the initial "what the hell is that thing?" and what does it do? Because people put the racks the right way round. They put the pallets with the labeling on correctly. They think about where they're going to put it, because the report comes out every single day at 7:01, and it goes, it's distributed, and it doesn't become spam in people's emails. It's actually used by the cargo supervisors, and they go and instantaneously can audit and spot check problems, and everybody operates in a more efficient, more effective fashion, because it's just not worth it when you're getting a failure rate of 15 or 20% because you were on the lead forklift in that area for that airline for the night shift. It's just easier to do what you should be doing, because she'll be out again tonight at 11 o'clock doing the same thing, and she'll pick it up, and then for me, I can start to see trends where operating procedures aren't covered. We can start to see what the root problem. We had a specific problem with certain UTLs, and it just ended up actually being a bad batch of barcodes. You probably don't remember that. It was only a very small instance, but there was something just not right. And the first thing was, the data must be wrong in the robot, and of course the data was right in the robot, and there was a problem with the labels, a printing problem that we had, which was causing a problem with our handheld scanners, and nothing was matching. So we suddenly had a terrible run of results for about 3 days, and we then spent 3 days trying to blame the robot, and then she just smiled dryly and said, "Well, I told you it wasn't me." So that helped us to fix it. We changed our barcode supplier very quickly after that. And time, changing a process that's from 12 hours to 17 minutes. We have had 15, but it was pretty much empty. It has taken 20 minutes. I think last Thanksgiving, which is just coming up, isn't it? Last Thanksgiving, it was pretty much bursting at the seams, and that took 20 minutes. So, those people are staying with the company. They think the world's a much happier place to have Mimi kicking around the robot, around the warehouse. So, it is appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks, Rory. And I think from our perspective, the best part, I think, of the collaboration and the human side of it is that we actually kind of had a lot of input from the team around how they would like to kind of see the reports, how they like to kind of perceive the data, asking questions every single time they see an anomaly. So I think with any kind of technology, unless you have the teams on the other side to utilize the technology in the right way and actually act on the results of the data and the report we're having, then obviously like you will end up with nothing, because every single day, to your point, you will find the same errors and you'll kind of pinpoint the same things. But what we found really helpful with Menzies and the partnership we have is that actually somebody is kind of taking action and making things better, hence why you were probably kind of feeling the benefits quite quickly, is having somebody dedicated to act on the insights that we provide.
Yeah. So just to assure everybody, I'm not being paid for this, but it's sort of summary time. My three observations are: if you have an inventory and you have a warehouse and you need data, you need to go buy one of these today. You need to be prepared to invest a little bit just to label things properly, strip them down properly. And then get a change manager, the person you choose from the business, get somebody who's got some experience, who'll buy into it, and just give you that extra 10% by feeding in some rules of, how the robot needs to look for things, how you then build up the digital image. So, these racks are imports, these are exports, and then Dexory will do some huge things with the simulations that they can do. And then go find another warehouse and put another one in.
Thank you. And I think on that note, actually, about other warehouses and how, what other plans does Menzies have when it comes to innovation, technology? Obviously, in your role, you must see a lot of different things. So anything exciting, obviously, outside of what we do together, that you can share with the world?
Yeah, we've got, we have an innovation strand within Menzies Cargo. You can see my preferences, but there's some really low grade stuff where you think, is that innovation? We've put in some smart cabinets where we actually put our handhelds in, and the staff come up and they scan in their staff badges, so that we were in one shed and our inventory said we had 72 scanners, and we were just thinking everybody's taking a long time and there are only 17 of them working. So this will only release it. It's like an industrialized Asda. It will only release it if the battery's there and if it's working. We go to take, we go to the next level in Sydney. We've built a full infrastructure to do laser-driven dimensioning. And we've got a POC running with that. Quite interesting. Paper is the bane of a cargo operation. I can show you some photos of literally tons of paper. A freighter will have something in the region of 350 pieces of physical paper and dangerous goods sign-off and manifests and airway bills. And then for the authorities, you have to print 4 copies of that. We've thrown all of that away. We scan one set, and then the 5 or 6 stakeholders, they can OCR, they can sign into an application, and then they can pull up by a number of criteria. And then, if there's anybody out there that's got an automated forklift, give me a call, because I think that's where we're going to head. I think that's the next thing. Robotics has been good for us, and I think we need to go to the next stage where we wire in. We're doing a new cargo management system with a company called Wipro. And part of that is that we will integrate our robot. So we will take all the reporting out, and we're being quite adventurous, but hopefully the API will actually, at the moment, the robot goes out on a timed basis, but when we get to a certain capacity, we can do a spot inventory, and get the cargo management system to drive that and send the robot out. We're quite well advanced with that. It's a bit of a secret, Dexory, I don't want to mention it, but we're pretty close to signing that off, and that will be quite exciting. We're always open to we don't want to boil the ocean, but good technology that fits into the business process with smart suppliers who are very, very focused on what they're doing. Don't come and try and fix everything with me. Just come and find a problem, and then we build on that. But yes, it's been a fun year. It's been a successful year, and I think we now need to move it a bit further around in our network and get some more robots out there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rory, for your time. As I mentioned before, if anyone does have any questions or want to get in touch with us, let's talk at dexory.com or just in the chat here. Or of course, I'm pretty sure, and again, sorry for putting you on the spot, Rory, but if anyone wants to reach out on LinkedIn to Rory, I'm sure he will hopefully reply as soon as he calms down for everything and all the changes happening in the business. Thank you so much, everyone. Really, really hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much again, Rory, for your time and obviously sharing so many insights from inside the business.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and thank you very much for the invite. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you.